Welcome. Hello. How are you? So, my nerves are a little shaky today. My heart, so this is like an adrenaline rush for me right now. I can get a little bit emotional too. Yeah. Welcome as I am. I am in my house clothes, but I am wearing a few of my own creations and pieces because I should, as I should. Like my daughter says, as you should, as you should. That's what my daughter says, as you should, as you should. And that's what this video post is about. Avoiding for years this video. Hey, rejoice and celebration. Great. Welcome. If you are new here, welcome. This is an evolutionary channel of a sacred space created for you and I to further evolve and spark our evolution in such inspiring galactic quantum ways that reign supreme in our world, offering different levels of energy management solutions with creative expressions and artistic different varieties for you to eat the fucking manna. You know what I'm saying? I welcome you in every kind of way. Today is a different leveling of entertain, which has my nerves a little bit on blast. So I might pause the video because I'm already emotional. Like I'm emotional. I'm fucking emotional. And I have my bracelets on, so my chosen, right? Not pretty. And my moody as fuck, because that'd be me, right? These kind of different multi-dimensionalities of polarities existing within I gotta be real with my system, you know what I'm saying? And that's just the way that it is. There's no disguise. And my favorite one, my evil eye one, that is mine. There's only one. And then, oh, I made this one last night, psychic, right? It glows in the freaking dark. It really glows in the dark. I went, like, I just don't know how to take a picture of it in the dark yet, so I'm going to play around with that, like, later on in a blackout kind of room. So I could take a picture of it glowing, and then the, you know what I'm saying? So, oh. Okay. So, welcome. If you are returning, welcome. I hope you are subscribed and that you like if you are returning, because then what are you returning for? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not going to reciprocate or, you know, feed the nice energy exchange that is happening here. You know what I'm saying? And if that's it. That's what I'm going to address. So, welcome. So this one here is like a vlog, video, right? A vlog. I don't do well with terminologies. I hate labelings already as it is. So this one's a long time overdue. It should have been my first one. This should have been, but it didn't. And my first video, if you go back, it says 4 years ago or something like that, but I feel like it was earlier than that. I don't know what YouTube time is, but when I actually started sharing, it was like a poem, like an intro, and the screen is yellow. It's like, it says 4 years ago, and it's just my intro into, I'm doing it finally after so long of advisement. You know, I am jumping off the mountain and bungee jumping and or skydiving or whatever the case may be. Back then, I know, because the position I was in where I was resistant to this growth and I was fighting with spirit, I was like, you know, I don't mind being, you know, not seen, because I deal with being seen regularly, and like this is to a different kind of degree of anxiety, you know, and just getting through those blockages within my own inner being that were limitations for me. And so me breaking past that barrier, block, you know, and it's like, okay, we're gonna unlock and we're just gonna take a dive, you know, many can relate to that leveling of adrenaline inside to push yourself past your comfort zone and allow yourself to soar. So the first 2 years or so on my YouTube, because I be stubborn, I got some fixed signs up in my chart too. You see that have been dormant, active, in different kind of ways, and based off of my own conditioning and, you know, evolution. Like, I've had my own engage with it that I've had to come to understand so I can comprehend in order to overstand and make the appropriate shiftings and apply the proper applications to my own value meal, right? Welcome. So this is like my blog intro, like, who am I? Who am I? I wrote some stuff down, not the stuff that I'm gonna say, but just because I'm really nervous. The reason is because I'm a very private person. And although there might be people that in my lifetime have known some of my stories during the times that they were a part of my world, right? I have a lot of stories. Yes, baby. Yes, it's not facing that way. So, and so I've never shared that in these last years of just uploading my videos, because I just came up on the scene one day, you know, all sloppy in every kind of way, you know, and I was upset too because I didn't have, like, you know, like, I thought I needed this, that, and now that I have all this, that, and that, I revert to the original. I still don't edit. I don't use anything fancy. I have it in different videos, like stuff that I've played around with, even editing and all this kind of stuff and whatever. I'm too busy, like, in terms of, like, my scheduling and how I live my life and, you know, my high performance lifestyle, like, with time and time management and how I go about my days and how I create it, you know, for myself and how that's been building and stuff like that. Now that I'm just at a different, like, mind space about it all and the multidimensionality of what all these videos have created, whether they're watched or not. It's an energy etched into our ethers of shared metaverse space that creates a seed of greed, and it can build off and have traction and expand and grow and evolve. And, you know, it brings me back to us as each individual generational seed that is a new waver in their generation that creates a stir that is infused with the previous new wavers from the generations before. Every generation, there are awakened ones. Yeah, we're all special, right? But we're all freaking in some way prideful and competitive too, because, like, even the ones that are not competing and all this kind of stuff with one another, amongst one another, that just don't get it. Like, I guess I'm an old waver in that kind of department, because it's taken me into this new ager waver of an experience in my life to be like, wow, people are activated that way, you know, to be that competitive or wanting to be the all, like, you know, and it comes from our conditioning of lack, you know, and how much depravity one experiences in their own energetic journey field here in this 3D plane of perceived existence. And, you know, it activates differently in different kind of ways, right? I feel like I always hear this line from Meg Thee Stallion in my mind that it just goes deep, when she was like, instead of schooling these broads, or some, I could butcher the line, but the meaning is the same. instead of schooling these broads, I should have been reading a bitch, right? And that's kind of like where I feel like my experience has been, because I've just been so like throughout my whole entire just existence in this 3D plane of existence, right? I've just always been open. That's, I guess, that heavy Sagittarius in my chart, right? That is the philosopher, the educator, the wounded healer, kind of like, or experiencing things, and the humanitarian, and all these kind of things. So like, although I'm very like, I used to play a lot of sports, and I understand my involvement with that too now, from a heightened experience of perspective, to understand that my competitiveness, even then, because I never used to get mad if we lost, even though we didn't, like, because of our competitiveness and ability to play a sport, or be activated in that. I got a lot of fire in my chest, got a lot of, like, water, like, we playing volleyball, okay, we're gonna hit that ball. We're playing kickball, we're gonna kick that ball. Okay, we're playing baseball, we're gonna smack that with the bat, right? If we, so you get into these passionate, fueling energies, because you are such a energetic spirit that is the spark, right? Everywhere you go, right? So that's been your experience, and however you have expressed it or shared it, or suppressed it, oppressed it, like, it's all individualized, because we each have our own personal experience. Like, even if there's similarities in the evolutionary whole concept, right? But we each have a part, right? We each are a drip of a drop in the ocean too, right? That plays an important part in your drip and your drop, and it's up to you to realize the importance of your drip and the drop without comparing it to any other drip and the drop, because when you're looking at it abstractly, it's just painting a whole ocean that's freaking like picturesque, right? And you're part of that. You made that too, right? Like, just because, like, people, I can get real like cutthroat in my bluntness or whatever, or delivery in certain kind of things, which can, to somebody else that wasn't expecting that, or will look at that from their perception, right? Your perception is your reflection, right? Not mine, right? So however someone perceives your actions is in, and this is going to be helpful, right? If you haven't grasped this yet, right? Is their reality. Because what has been something that has been revealed to me, even just more so in my own life experience, about perceptions and things like that about people, when they accuse you, or they point at you, and they call you this and they call you that, or they shame you, and they do these kind of things, right? And you're in defense mode, offended mode, like, what mode? Like, fuck you mode, like, are you crazy mode, right? And this is your development mode, right? Then it's like savage mode, beast mode. Look at what you brought it here, right? Like all that is, as the one receiving those kind of energies and things like that, what we fail to see, because we're looking at the audacity, right? Is that projection, that be, is how they are, you see. No matter how tough that can seem, right? Even, like, this has been a tricky ride in terms of, even before I go and I point that way, and even when I come out and I, like, that Jesus kind of rage, and I have something to say that's righteous, depending on my delivery of righteousness, can set in tone and space the elixir, or contributing to still the cyclical toxic, like, depending. And so we got to get those avenues in alignment, right? I don't know who that was for, because this is not even about that. This is about me and my intro, you see, that I've never given here, telling you about me and how I've come to be. Instead of just posting videos and leaving, I'm still a private person, and this is going to be interesting. But the adrenaline that kicks off for me is because still there's a resistance within me. And I'm like, I don't want to share nothing. I don't have to. And so, right, material and spiritual prosperity. Yeah, we welcome this leveling of triumph in our life. So I'm always going to do that because I got to, breathe in and take in what's happening here, rejoicing and celebration still, right? Our solar plexus chakra, right, activated after some much needed inner recalibration, right? So, welcome. This is my intro vlog. I'm going to get a little bit up close and personal. I think I've been saying I'm going to get up close and personal since I've started this stuff, and I've never really, so I'm just going to keep this one basic as can be, like, who am I, my age, where I'm from, what I'm about, what I do, and why did I start my YouTube channel, something I've never even expressed, my journey with spirituality, and when did it begin, how did it begin, and things like that. And I'm going to try to not go, so, this will probably be in parts. Like, I can start it now. Oh, that's what I hear. Start it. Just start it. Just start it. Just listen. Start it. Start whatever it is that you're holding yourself back on because you think you're not good enough for it yet, right? Like, for an example, like, there's people that know me, like, all my life, like, let's say, and they're intimidated to pull cards for me. When I say, I like doing that because I do that with people behind the scenes, like in coachings and things like that, that they want to further develop their intuition and their ability to read the cards, and just opening an expansion to interpretation and just trusting in your intuition, right? Because that's how it starts, right? Like, a lot of people ask me, like, how do you read the cards? Well, come here, let me help you read it for yourself in the way that is going to resonate with you best, so that you can develop your own leveling of understanding your communication with what you're being called to do, right? So either way, and I'm always encouraging, like, I don't want to be an intimidation for you. Like, this has nothing to do with who's better at what and what. Like, this is going to be your leveling. This is your drip of the drop, right? And your contribution to the whole. I don't expect you to do it anything except what it's calling you as. Although there is a difference between intuitive card readers and just tarot readers. There's a fucking huge difference, man. Huge difference. We'll talk about that in another video if you want, right? Let me write that down, please. Intuitive tarot readers versus tarot readers. No intuition. No intuition, just excellent at card reading, okay? There's a lot of those. There are a lot of those. There are probably more those than intuitive. I'm an intuitive reader. And we'll get into that with my story of my journey, but let me introduce myself. Hi, I am Enchantress, the Babbler. That is I. In 3D world, some know me, aka as Jennifer. That is my name. And on my birth certificate, Jennifer. And according to, like, many of the little ones that I be teaching, because I'm also a children's yoga teacher as well, they call me Miss Yoga. Miss Yoga here. And then it's cute because I get to transition with some of them, like, that I've been teaching. So, like, let's say, like, there's this one particular class that I teach that I've been teaching each of them. They have entered this class since they were babies, and now they're like 3 or 4 years old. So when they started yoga, let's say they were when they started yoga, they were like 1.5, 2, right? Let's say, in their daycare, right? And I've watched these kids, like, cry in the beginning of yoga. Like, some kids are criers. They're not open to newness, right? I'm also realizing the kind of children that I get in my classes that are very highly heightened and gifted, right? And so wonderful to be a part of that, right? It's fulfilling, right? Right. So what was I saying? Right. So I've watched them transition and grow in their through teaching them yoga and stuff like that. And what's the whole point of that? I got distracted. They're talking about them and emotional. What was the whole freaking point? That happens a lot here, but my advice to you is stay in the loop, because what happens is no matter what's going down here in Intentions to Babbler Land, everything does get concluded, even if it's not in the video that it flew over all of our heads when I forget what it is that I was channeling or saying, and like I'm like the human comes in and is like, huh? There was somebody talking? You know what I mean? So, but then that comes back in a later video. So just stay in the loop. If you want to know, stay in the loop. It is manna. Manna, okay? So, me. Oh, yeah, me. Hey, who am I? Jennifer. That was it. Oh, Jennifer, right? They call me on Miss Yoga. Okay, that was what we were talking about too, right? Okay. Yeah. So, right. The cognitive functioning I was going to mention in terms of, I've watched them go from not needing to reference me, like, or except in the Jewish schools, they call me Mora. Mora, go to listen to the Mora. Make sure you listen to the Mora. Like, I think that's what they call the teacher, like something like that. Mora? I don't know. Something like that. I think it's something like that. I get called that too, or that's what they'll understand it in certain schools. So I teach in a lot of those kind of schools too. So yeah. What was the whole point of that? Anyways, so yes, I am Enchantress. On social media lands, I am known as Enchantress. It started with my Instagram channel. It started, I guess, before that too, because I had my blog for a longer time, enchantingbabble.blogspot.com. And then I am Enchantress, ENCHANTRESS on Instagram, the one and only. I even have a hacking story from that. I was hacked a couple of years ago, I think like 2016, for my damn name because of the movie that came out. What was the name of the movie? Shit. Suicide Squad, right? For Enchantress. So many offers to me for my Enchantress name still to this day, and still to this day people still trying to get into my Enchantress account. I wake up and it'll be like, sorry, you can't get into your account. I'm like, what? Like, to this day people still trying to get into the account for whatever reason they want to get into the account. Like, what in the world? Like, so I've been experiencing two-factor authentication. Highly recommend it for anybody that deals with like fuck shit cyberbullying, or like people just trying to mess with your shit. Like, I've been dealing like with even like silent cyberbullying and like death threats and things like that for like 5 years straight. Like real stuff, the mean stuff that people would send to and say. It got really serious that I had to turn off my business line because of the amount of like death threats I was getting on my business phone line. And just things that it's not pleasant to wake up to, like, you know what I'm saying? And just the harassment there was like, it was just repulsive, right? So either way, anyways, those kind of things occur, especially if you're doing big things in terms of, where you just, it sucks. You don't have to accept it, right? You can, once you grow past the experience of having it, it's either you're going to cycle that experience and continue it and still allow it to like, infiltrate or whatever, because it doesn't mean it stops, or you start exerting and setting and seeing your value meal. And like, now it's like, I dare. Oh, you tried? Okay. And it's not that you're getting like, retaliation and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, when you know better, you do better. And, discernment beyond fleek. So either way, that's that little side like note too. So I am Jennifer, aka Enchantress the Babbler. Babbler comes from the babbling. So, which some might call channeling. But my growth of understanding and evolution of just Babel, period, has been profound. The babbling effect that I started going public with, which was with my blog, enchantingbabble.blogspot.com, was because prior to that, I had a live journal. And what I liked about live journal, because I never was really big on the social media scene. Instagram was the first platform that I thoroughly enjoyed and took a liking to, which is why I have Enchantress, because even before Instagram took off, like, it wasn't popular, like, and it was unknown. I didn't even know it was public, honestly. Like, I thought it was just me having like a Pinterest board, like something like that, right? When me and my ex-roommate had learned back then that it was public, it was through her vagina pictures. She was like, oh my God, like, girl, what are you doing putting vagina on the Instagram? So that's how we learned that Instagram was public unless you were private. And so that was many moons ago. I don't remember what year, 2009, 10, 11. I have no idea. Even though I time travel and get and extract and make sense of a lot of different things, as we do as evolutionary beings, right? There's no limit to our growth. We are infinite beings, always expanding, and in different arenas. That's because there's so many multidimensional platforms of existing, and the more you awaken to a different energy, frequency, vibration of a platform, of an experience, of a reality, like there's no, it's like a trip. It's like being high all the time. Like, people say, what are you smoking? Life. Hello. Everybody loves party up in here, right? So, what was I saying? Babble. Platform, right? So, Instagram was my first ever platform, and prior to Instagram, at this point, I think I may have created a Facebook, but I was late bloomer to Facebook, because when Facebook got big and MySpace, like, I never had a MySpace. So, like, you'll never find a MySpace account from me, because I wasn't on social media during that earlyhood time of MySpace. I was probably still on LiveJournal, who knows, because it was anonymous and I was able to share cryptically my experience through abuse and being in a very abusive, toxic relationship that if I never left, he would have killed me. I would have killed him. Probably that way. Right? Right. So we can talk about those kind of stories later. But right. So, and then during like MySpace and Facebook, I was with a psycho. So if there is no social media, okay. And so that kind of, and not that I was drawn to it anyways, because I'm like I said, like very like a creative, like myself. So I like things that I can create on. You know what I mean? So like I look for artsy fartsy kind of stuff because I'm drawn to expression naturally, like, so anything that allows for, like, even when I had Instagram all those years ago, I never shared me. That was a development too, of like starting to take selfies, like, okay, let me love on me some and be proud, like, so the first like maybe like year or so of Enchantress, I rarely shared a picture. Like, it was just all like funny, emo kind of motivating kind of stuff, like, making people feel good and things like that, and enjoying that kind of ability to express and just impact people. And it also allowed me to start sharing publicly, like, my spirituality, like I was coming out of the closet, kind of, so to speak, right? No longer hiding, or not even just hiding, but like only sharing it with those that are in the know of that, or never being all out there with it, just amongst those that I trust and stuff like that. And meanwhile, it's what I'm sought after for. So you get what I'm saying? So I was being pushed there to share. So that's when, like, the early years of like Instagram, I did a lot of like pick cards. I did a lot of free readings because I was gaining my own, I was developing my own trust in what it was I was doing, because, even then it was one thing to, I've been doing readings. I'll talk about that, like, when my spirituality started. It's just, like we're talking. I've been reading cards since about the ages of 4 or 5. So that's over 35 years. Okay. And it could have been earlier just because I wasn't vocal about it till about 4 or 5 years old, about that the cards were talking to me, because I started with cartomancy. Like, the playing cards, because I was always into like being a magician, magic tricks. So I was the kid that did card tricks and abracadabra kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I was big on that, and big on card games like poker and blackjack and things like that. So from little, they just spoke to me. That's the best way I could describe it. If I was to describe a voice, it's claircognizance. It's just a knowing. But as a kid, it was a different knowing, because for me, my imagination was trippy. Like, they talked to me. It's just like my relationship with crayons and markers. Like, they had a life. They had relationships. Red and blue, there was always an argument that red and blue were never supposed to be together, because it was red, blue, and pink. Pink was it's just crazy, right? When you're on the spectrum of highlight, right, life, right? So yeah, I indeed was a very I was called weird, but fun. I was always fun, things like that. So, and creative, and I have been writing, which I understand better now too, since before I could write. I always say that because I used to be like 3, let's say. Again, I don't like to narrow it down, but I'm just trying to share with you the timeline too, so you can understand. I used to write channel, because I'm an automatic writer. Well, it's one of the early on gifts that were heightened in me from I don't know life without it kind of experience. I don't know life without automatic writing. I have been automatic writing since before I can actually like write, because I used to write, like, let's say 3, but it's scribble. I wish I had those things, like, so I could see the scribble. And I used to read it back to one of my parents. And I have this one image in my mind of my dad one day, and I'm reading him what I wrote. He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm telling him this whole story. But the story was there. And I'm like, yeah. And, mind you, the conscious me sees it's scribble. There's no writing, but you don't understand that at 3. Although the 3-year-old sees the higher mind activated and is aware of something else, but the 3-year-old doesn't digest that. You get what I'm saying? Like, there has never been a time of the highest of the selves had not been made clear to my human 3D existence, except that it was treated absently by the human, although the human has been very much aware of its overall existence, right? Because of my experience as a small child. Okay, wait, so let me go in this so I can go. All right, so because that's the deeper part of the chats, and that goes in. I just say hi, Enchantress, Jennifer, Enchantress Babbler. Yeah, the Babbler has been around publicly since about early 2007, 2008, or something like that, on different platforms, growing its own voice, and gaining its own confidence through its own divinely guided reality. That's all. Like, to sum up my experience, even if I didn't question it or understand it or even think of it at that point as that, right? It has always been divinely guided, led through its process of creation. And every single platform created was serving a higher purpose than the human computed at the time. But the human, although resistant, was learning to become more obedient and disciplined to the guidance internally given, and had to go through the schooling, the steps, the process, right? Right. I have posted something on my quote by Plato. I'm gonna share it here too on my Instagram. Sorry. We do not act rightly because we are excellent. In fact, we achieve excellence by acting rightly. Plato. And so many of you guys that do connect with me, that's the leveling of energy. No matter where your leveling is on your own evolution, that is going to be at different varying degrees than anybody. It's your own divine timing of placement that puts you in wherever you are. And so we do not act rightly because we are excellent. We got a lot of shit to learn. I still got a lot of shit to learn. We're always learning. I'm always learning. I'm a student for life, right? I was back to that Meg Thee Stallion quote, right? Like, you know, instead of schooling them, I should have been reading a bitch, right? Like, we're coming out of that too. So like the realization of that too, like, you know, I've always been just so open and free to express and share what it is. And, you know, and then the battle, like even for me as a young kid growing up, other kids got annoyed, like my closer circle friends, like calling me the philosopher, like, oh, here she goes, don't get her started, like, and then calling me a know-it-all, you know, or like, oh, you always have a response and answer for everything, and you know, and just, you know, thinking about the beatdown of that kind of conditioning too, of what that can do to my mindset, even if you're still resilient, even if you're still doing what you need to do, and even if, you know, sometimes you get kicked down, and sometimes they kick you more when you kick down anyways, and you know, and you just look passion ignited, right? And you're growing in your own ways, like, you know, you've always been the light, no matter what. And this development of inner, look, I know we see harmony here and you think, oh, love, but stop it. Everybody that's in search of love and not satisfied with themselves or their life at this moment, says, stop searching for fucking love. It is not a lover, an intimate partner. Yes, it feels great. Yes, it's a wonderful. But if you are not even in that cup of overflow for you, this is for somebody too, then stop. Because the only thing you're going to draw to you and attract to you, rightfully so, is what your energy is radiating, that you need this, desperation. Settling for lesser vibrations. Fuck out of here with that. Stay watching this channel because we don't do that here. Whole is the goal on every level. Mind, body, heart, and soul. I've triggered many people in my life that I have encountered because of this mindset too. But it only bruised their ego and pride in some kind of way because, you know, each individual has been different for the reasonings as to why, you know, this leveling of I would ignite or trigger in them to feel the lack of something that they have yet to make whole, and your presence irritates their demons. I always sought to help those kind of people too, because I see, and they know I see, once many of the intuitives that I have had short friendships with or something like that, like it's because of that. People's intimidation to your own personal power irritates their demons that feed them lack and create in them this mindset that operates off of a fear, false evidence appearing real type something. And because you bring that out in them, I started to see now too that the people like I that are on their evolutionary high, who have to deal with the whiplash style kind of attacks from even people that are awakened and healers in their own right and way, or teachers and all this kind of stuff. And like, let's say for example, right, I go to another YouTuber's channel, right, and I'm genuinely really like, I don't do fake support. I know this about myself, right? I know this about myself. So if I am on someone's channel, it's not a plot. It's, I find something there. You don't need to know what it is. And that's the disturbance for many of them, because you don't know why I'm there. Like, if the story doesn't apply, or if they're like, wait, like, huh? Like, to some who are like I, where we overthink everything and we want to get past all these disguises and energies and things like that, like, question, right? Like me, let's say. I'm just using this as an example, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, because this is where I'm being led, okay? Whatever. And so it triggers in them what, an unknown energy, which then immediately gets put in red flag zone. And because of their trust and their intuition and pathway, some dive deeper. I love those that'll take that and see the projection and really don't want to just go in, oh, you're not a good person, you're hiding behind a mask, or, you know, just pointing or getting insecure, you know, or feeling some type of way, or feeling a threat, or, you know, something, you know, whatever it is that take that, right? You know, and they'll see what is the trigger, and they'll work on their evolution, because it's bringing up something, right? Because what a lot of us are mirrors for people. So we gotta remember that, even when, especially when someone's adding us, and you're really not about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? So those that do the work and do things, they can come to terms with it, and they handle it in their own way until, you know, in a healthy way, you know, and that might be to be closed off to the person or whatever and stuff like that. Like for instance, like with me, I've been getting a lot more cutthroat with my cutoffs, even though it may have appeared I'm good with my cutoffs always, right? Depending. But I haven't, because there's been a lot of underlying surfaces of hidden energies that I, to this day, have yet to address. And it's just shit you feel and you know, but because they won't say, you don't stir the pot in that kind of way. It's just like, it is what it is and all this kind of stuff, or whatever the case may be. But in holding those things in, you're holding in an energy of deceit in certain kind of ways. And so over time, that can play and plague with your mind. And because the issue has yet to be addressed, or truth has been made to be accepted, or, you're not seeing it or addressing it in the energy that you should be, or there's a certain level of avoidance, you know what I mean? That's a conditioning being seeded, and different experiences occur, right, that will trigger that avoidance or energy not being touched upon until it crescendos in some kind of way, like, you know what I mean? And and these are the things that can plague with people's minds. But what I'm even hearing at, like, in certain kind of things, right, from people, is they're stopping there at the trigger, which is an excellent moment for reflection. And because they don't enter the vessel of the unknown, and they're just going into the trust, I trust how I feel and whatever, and they then interpret it red flag wise, and then their mind supports that, and they create truths to support that new red flag that they're off on, right? So that's for somebody, or somebody's work on that discernment, because not everybody's bad just because they trigger you. Positive movement forward, right? Not everybody's bad just because they trigger you. That's for your next step up into your own evolution, right? Because you are starting to encounter souls that do vibe like you and have been through the ringer just like you. And we're all raising our eyebrows about each and every one of us, like, right? So that's like that PTSD, right? For real, right? It's like discernment is key, right? But the new, that's not what many are accustomed to, is having energies whom you can be triggered by, right? And learn from in a loving, supportive environment. That's what's like healthy relationships after all the trauma, PTSD, conditioning, unconditioning, and you have these healthy new relationships, whether it be friendships or, partners or, whatever the case may be. That it's not that everything's perfect. No, everybody has to grow with one another, especially if you're intimate and, open with one another. That doesn't mean everything is bliss, but the handling of it is, even when shit escalates, right? Healthy conversation, communication, when two are upset about something and they come to terms with something, or they're trying to understand or being able to communicate with one another, right? And such a healthy, supportive setting to be able to work through those shadow sides that do come up. And wow, I'm in a safe environment. That's how I raised my daughter. I used to say to everybody like that, like my family did not agree with the way that I raised her, even though it wasn't like, my goal was to raise her without fear, because that has been the line of abuse that was instilled onto me with the bullying and tyranny and abuse and the silence about having to be loyal to double shit. And so I refused to raise her in any light setting that I was under. And one of those was not being a bully or a totalitarian tyrant, understanding that she is a soul here having a human experience, to recognize the divine being that she was when she was born, to honor her and be, and plus, I had my own experience from losing my mother so young that I wanted her to have the best mom experience, the best that I can. Having her know that she had this pillar of support, fierce mama dragon style, that will wish a motherfudger would stand up for my child in every single setting and allow her to express herself free in every arena, even when she got smart aleck and smart with me. Which is like what my family would say, oh, you're gonna let her walk all over you and every kind of way. What makes you say that? And the challenges too that I had to address, because in my defense, I was also finding my harmony with my stance. And so I don't want to be combative with everybody. So I shut shit down for my family early on from when she was young. If I heard anything that was spoken in a way that was, excuse you, if you don't know how to speak in a healthy, right, loving way towards my daughter, then don't speak until you learn how to speak right. Period. Even when she went through her awkward stages with, her body development and stuff like that, and she didn't want to, dress herself or do her hair, and I wasn't allowed to do her hair anymore, and so I let her show up how she was. You want to be messy, be messy. You don't want to get dressed up, don't get dressed up. You don't want to do your, don't put me out. But remember, other people may not be so kind, or might look at you and you're going to feel it too at the time, because you're sensitive. You're going to know how they, what they feel without them saying. So we used to have prep talks prior to going to any family outing and stuff like that, so that she was mentally and emotionally and spiritually supported and conscious of her reasons and her stance. I remember there was a party, a family party, and she didn't want to do her hair. She didn't want to really, so she went really bummed out, like the way that I am in my house right now. Right? Like imagine showing up to a party like this, like, hi. And a little bit more antisocial, because at that time, she was the one from the immediate cousins that was singled out different too. So they weren't also nice to her, right? The cousins growing up, like one cousin took a liking, and another one, when they were baby, tried to scratch her face. Like It's just she had a different experience, right, of isolation because people could just be so mean, right? And then she also had my full support, which created another layer of envy and jealousy from others who didn't have that with their parents. So like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Anyways, I know where that started. But right. So what you are a beacon, a spokesperson for, is harmonious creations through your adversity, through your trials and tribulations, through your challenges, right? Those that connect here. You make what's not right, right. And you do the right thing for the most part. You know what I'm saying? That's a development process too, right? I have people mad at me now because we come from the same time zone, generation, and they're now doing the work. So they're going through a lot of shadow root work too. And even though they won't say it to me, I feel it. And I annoy the crap out of a lot of those kind of people. Because I'm not in the same setting. Because that setting for me was when I was isolated. And I was casted out. So it's like, damn if you do cast it out either way too, even when you do the doobie doo sometimes, right? And so that's just like getting out of the hood. Somebody that didn't get out of the hood will say, oh, you think you're better than us? Perception, reflection. It's showing you the states of evolution of where they are in statements such as that. To show you that in this leveling of evolution for themselves, if they were in your position, they would think they were better than you. Real talk. I don't think I'm better than nobody. Nor am I trying to be better than anybody. Nor do I desire to be better than anybody. What the fudge are you talking about? Right? So it's like being in your powerhouse, adjusting to this powerhouse stance, and owning it, right? But that's not what this is about. This is a vlog about where am I and all this kind of stuff. So, hi, Jennifer, Enchantress, the Babbler, that's me on this evolutionary space. So, why did I start this YouTube channel? Give me 1 second. Hi. So, okay, so, hey, Jennifer, Enchantress, blah, blah, blah. I've been in social media land, public, since 2008, 2007, 2008. The public was kind of like Enchanting Babble blogger. I was guided to start off of No More Live Journal and go to an actual blog and share my cryptic poetry, expressing, having an outlet of expression for the abuse that I was enduring at that time. And so I found a place that I can go to and share cryptically through poetry my my experience breaking the chain of imprisonment that I felt I was in because I didn't tell anyone. And so I created that platform to build up the courage to say what needed to be said. It was medicine, and so very helpful through my heartache and loss during those times. And it was the start of the emergence of my online social media presence. So it started from there, and during there, before, like, because I'm not really savvy. Like, my daughter teaches me a lot, and sometimes she has to show me stuff like numerous times. So for me, on any of these kind of things, I take likings to things that are simple. So anything that's complex in use, I probably have never used it, don't want to use it, and won't like it. Like, I like everything to be so simple that I could figure it out on my own, right? So apps, since I don't have thousands of apps on my phone and all this kind of stuff, because I like simplicity, and I know what I like and have, and, you know, what I have time for, you know, things like that. So aside from just like, you know, changing filters and like things like that, like, I don't really do. I think a few years back I did do some YouTube edits and things like that. It was fun. Honestly, from this point right here, I don't even remember how I did that. I would have to, it'll be like doing it again for the first time. So yeah, what do I do? So as of right now, like, I do many things. I'm going to talk lightly on this, but I am an expert body worker, stretch specialist, you know, whatever. So I have my own, you know, business where I work with people on their bodies. I do a lot of other stuff in between that, and I also teach, and I have my online business along with my creations that I do, and my own booked and busy clientele in terms of bookings for like readings and stuff. I do readings for people all over the world. I've been doing that for now consecutively, like, or it's consistent and stuff like that. Since the reason I created my first website was to make it easier for how it was turning out, because before I used to just do everything through, like, you send me a message, we'll book a reading, like whether it was like, you know, email reading or phone reading or, you know, online or whatever the case may be. And it started to get too overwhelmed because, you know, I do other jobs too, and scheduling. So I wanted scheduling to be simple where I didn't have, like, you know, get neurotic about it. So I created enchantressthebabbler.com, which has now converted into witchyutopian.com. So Enchantress the Babbler did not die off or whatever. I just made a 2022 new year, new look. I created the website myself, which was great because I wanted the energies off from the others that had helped me build the other one, because I didn't do it, right? And so I'm very satisfied with my new website, witchyutopian.com, which is a mother and daughter multi-dimensional metaverse of a cyberspace platform that is awesome. My daughter does do readings there too. She offers them via email, and her 1111 readings are the best seller. Like, legit, it's like we want a one card from you, and not everyone's card. I don't offer one card or whatever. She offers 1 card and 3 card readings and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And, you know, I make a lot of things and things like that, and it's expanding. It's new. Witchyutopian.com is new. It launched January 2022, but for the last 2 or 3 years, enchantedsthebabbler.com also had expanded and had did really well. And so, you know, it was worth the investment to have my own website. And so I didn't want to not have my own website. It was a risk factor because I had developed my own, you know, system through enchantedsthebabbler.com and, you know, starting afresh after having built up enchantedsthebabbler.com for the last 2 or 3 years. I was torn in the middle for a while, and I was being called to start fresh, and you know, I didn't, you know, have to start again, kind of like, you know, but not. And it's been absolutely a great experience too. And we're just starting in February, so it's been for a month or whatever, and some of the people that were from enchantedsthebabbler.com have switched over and gone over there, especially my subscribers for my teas. So, you know, it just has been, I make things, okay? I make a lot of things, and I make the teas, which are wonderful, and you can subscribe and receive monthly teas from me as well. So, you know, entrepreneur, mother, whatever, and yeah, it's a lot of different things, more too. That's just giving the surface. That was a build-up. I'm advised to share the transition from my 9 to 5 to no longer, and how that process was. Like, you know, I was almost evicted because I took a risk and had no plan. And well, you know, we see, but sometimes we dive and, you know, risk everything. And it was a climb to, you know, stability, right? So that's that. That's what I do. I do a lot of things. A lot of things. So I'm very busy, and so I don't have a consistent thing that I do with my social medias, like, you know, a plan, a schedule, or anything. I am content with my reasoning for my YouTube and all this kind of stuff or whatever. Like, so why I started this YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel a few years back because I had been divinely guided to for a while. I want to say maybe a good like 2 or 3 years. I was being pushed divinely to do YouTube, and during those 2 or 3 years that I was being pushed, I was being too shy to deny my own line. I was like, I'm not doing it. I like to write. We could write. I like to take pictures. We could do these kind of things. We could make things. I like to make things, right? I even did everything else. Like back in like 2000, I don't remember. Did I have my YouTube channel yet? I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even remember. But anyways, like, you know, I did a whole bunch of stuff. I used to make jewelry. Even though I'm making, you know, I do stuff now, I haven't, like, I used to make crystal jewelries. Like, I used to do upcycled jewelries, and I used to have auctions, like, on my Instagram and all this kind of stuff. And I was just, you know, so reserved, you know, and judged and critiqued so much in my life that I wasn't ready to be vulnerable on camera where anybody can see it. Everybody. And their mother, if they wanted to. And I just wasn't like, I wasn't ready. And I was like, we can write. Everybody loves my writing. We can do this. We can do this. Like, you know, like, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. I made these two. So this is a love potion, right? Invoking love, right? Road opener to love, self-love, worthiness, attraction, desire, and all these kind of things. And then this is like, you know, protection amulet on both sides too. Okay, all available on my website. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it has crystals, herbs, and stuff. Like, yeah. Okay, lots of stuff. Right. witchyutopias.com. Right. So the human that finally did the YouTube channel, when she did it, understood that this was about breaking her own chains, right? Invisible chains. That's, I think, what my first video was called, Breaking the Chains. Hold on. I think that's what my first video was called, Breaking the Chains. Shoot. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to find it from my phone. Find it on the computer, but shoot. I have like over 1,000 videos, okay? You're like, oh my. I know a lot of like the on and popping like YouTubers and things like that. Yeah, they don't do that. Like everything's clean, fresh, like whatever. That serves their purpose. You know what I'm saying? Mine was an evolutionary one in terms of like something different. It's like school in some kind of way. But they're all supposed to stay there for witness of this growth if everyone was interested, because there's pockets of manna in every single video in regards to energy management solutions, because that was the whole focus and point of the videos. I had found a way to be comfortable behind camera. I would record my YouTube while driving. That way my focus was on the road, and I would just forget the camera was on my face and drive, and you know, on my way to work, right? When I was shifting. So, you know, and I used to do a lot of like other stuff, like, you know, I had soap opera tarot for a while. It's cool. Those got the most views always. People like the scandal part of life and all that kind of stuff. But this is like, you know, it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of whatever is needed that I feel divinely guided to create, and that's how I create. And so there's no platform except evolution here. So there's so much videos here for everyone. So on whatever part of their journey they are on, scroll and see where you magically land up on. That'll be a message for you. You know what I mean? It's like my book, right? The Darker Nightlight of My Soul, available for purchase and download on Amazon. It is an oracle book, literally. I didn't know that when I published it, because publishing it, the journey was publishing it, finally finishing something, doing it, and like, so for the first couple of years, I still have yet to read the book. Because the first time I went to go read the book, the editor bitch in me, right, already was critiquing. And I closed it and I was like, get it, whatever. And then, you know, I had to develop my own relationship, bond, and appreciation for my creation, which I did not have for the first like year or two after my book publishing. Then I started getting feedback, and then the royalties, like, you know, like, and you're like, wait, somebody bought my book, okay, somebody's reading my book, okay, like, you know, and, you know, these build certain kind of levelings of confidence too, right? Because I didn't even advertise it. I advertised it once or twice, and that was it. And then had revolutions in myself, and it dawned on me that you can turn to, because a lot of people, and the feedback from people too, some have read it from start to finish and like, oh my God, they want to know the story. They want to know if it's a real story, if it's a true story, like, did it happen, and all this kind of stuff, because it's just poetry and the full emotion, having a revolution of an evolution, and it explains a lot of feeling on heightened blast, so you feel it, you know, and and I guess it touches on the subject. I didn't even want to write twin flames on it or anything like that because I have my own theories, and I just hate labelings, and I hate these kind of distorted popular freaking concepts that have taken hold of many people in search of like love and anyways, but it has that effect that fiery ignites upon a meeting with another human. And what is this? Awakening to life, love. Oh my fruit, run! Who is this being here that I can receive and see and feel so divine? You ignite my heart and life. Why do I want to run away from you at this time? Having the time of my life. Ooh. Okay, that wasn't in there. That's an excerpt, but it should be in there. Right, The Dark and Light of My Soul, Volume 1. There are more. Is Love Bites. You can turn to any random page, and it is whatever divine insight you are meant to receive. Trust. It will be in alignment with you too. You know what I mean? Or you could just read the things from. So a lot of people that have read it and whatever, they use it for daily inspiration too, and not just oracles. Those are people that like into oracles and all that kind of stuff. Daily inspiration, however you want to phrase it. And so I've had an interesting increase of its popularity years after I wrote it. I guess when I let it go, right? It's like, let it go, like, just let it go. Yeah, you have a book. Yeah, I have a book, you know? And so go check it out. You don't need to get it from me. It's available on Amazon, The Dark and Light of My Soul, right? Volume 1, Love Bites. You can check the master link that I share everywhere. If it's not in the description box below, you can check other videos, or you can check the bio or whatever, and click on the links that are available there to find out exactly the exact link for all that. Right. So 2 years ago, I have so many videos to go back from. Shit. I'm gonna try. Give me a second. I can't find it, but I did find another one that I forgot, and then I started to listen to it, and it's me talking about reading cards too. So like, but you can see this one's from 4 years ago. Good evening. I feel inspired. I used to do yellow. And so that's how this flow is gonna go. Whenever I wasn't driving. I want to share tarot cards with you guys. I've been doing tarot cards for a really long time, but it would be something that I never would say on the tarot pager. All right, so yeah, there's a whole section, right, that's called Cosmic Evolution. From like 4 years ago, like, you can literally see why do you do. Let's see. Like, think about it. Like, why do you do anything? And why? See, I asked myself, if I do something nice. Right. So anyways, there's a whole bunch of stuff from the time before, and the purpose of it was to break me out of my own shell while sharing in whatever divine channeling experience I felt guided to talk about. And the way that it was spoken about was different throughout the stages of my own YouTube channel that has been a documentary for me and very helpful, which I'm thankful for. Right? So that's how I started this channel. After years of inner promptings from the divine and my resistance, and one day I just got up and was like, oh, no, that's just gonna do it. And so it was either while I was driving or the screen was like yellow. And I saw that I did some edits there, so I must have done something. So I think I was probably using iMovie. I don't know. Probably, I think. I don't know. But either way, okay. So that's that. So who am I? I told you. Okay, so my age. It's just funny. I am 40 years old, and I have a 20-year-old daughter whom will be 21 soon. And I reduced everything down to a singular digit, so I am 4. Hold on one second. I'm the wisest 4-year-old that I know, which is awesome. And yeah, so that's that. So my journey with spirituality. This is where it's going to be in parts. This video is already longer than I anticipated. I had written 20 minutes down, and I'm sure I'm probably like on an hour already, because I am the babbler. So we'll start with, and then I'll create another video. I'm going to stop. I have wrote. I'll go back. I'll share with you an experience into the early childhood life of me. Okay, so I was raised by teenage parents. I am the oldest of my siblings, which is my sister. My mother had me at 16. My dad was 19. My mother had my sister when she was 21. And she, I don't know, maybe older, right? 23. Yeah, 23. Because my sister was 3 when my mom passed away. My mom passed away when she was 26. Okay? So, and I was 9. 1 month before my 10th birthday. So, okay, so early childhood life experience. The debate for me growing up in this household that I grew up in was the amount of spiritual activity that was in that house, period. And then just my natural gravitation towards all the spiritual activity that existed. So it wasn't that I was viewing it egoically, like, I thought this was normal. I thought it was normal. And so, reflections, right? So I would leave home and openly speak about spiritual activity amongst my peers and friends because I thought everybody went through this kind of experience. I see through time the things that I may have not been so keen to be aware of with the response systems from all the peers and people. I understand better now why I was different and eccentric. And the friend that people, when they introduced to someone else, had already prepped them for my energy. And so I always had 50-50 response rates with introductions from the friends that loved me, right? From whomever they were trying to introduce me to, because some were like put off by my energy and others loved it, you know? So it is what it is, right? So, but my spiritual journey, I say, like, lifetime transcendentalist, meaning that this is a lifetime for me. I truly don't know this life experience without any kind of spiritual activity in my life. That, yeah. So I'll go back to, and so part of my traveling back in time to experiences has been to better study, understand, and see with the consciousness that I have evolved into this space to now go back to another time, right, in my akashic, right, in this 3D plane, to witness from this consciousness a memory, a something, right, and now have the intellect, knowledge, consciousness to understand what was happening, even if it's far-fetched of, whoa, right? So the story that I wrote down here, 2 to 3 years old, and why I say I was 2 to 3 years old, the reason I know this is because I was in daycare, and I am a December baby. And so part of my years growing up has been the phenomena of always being the youngest and one of the littlest in all my classes in schools, right? Because everybody was older than me. Because I had to wait. So that's how I was perceived. Not that, you know, we could have been born on the same year or whatever and stuff. And then the people that, you know, they were always older than me, you know, and I was the wise one and firecracker and smart ass, right? And so I had a leveling of annoying immaturity too. I was a ball buster growing up and provoker too. I understand that better now too, to the triggers that I wildly would induce ignorantly as a child because of my intuition. And so when I was like 2 or 3 years old, this was before my sister was born, I was in school, I was in daycare. Chances are too, if you are highly into it and are a lifetimer, transcendentalist, aware of, you know, and you were raised in a household, you know, fortunate enough to be raised in a household where they, like my daughter was fortunate enough to be raised in a household that embraced her spiritual gifts. So being like, when she started sharing from the moment she can talk, I've always embraced it. The same thing with my nephew too, through my experience. Like, it was like, no, we're not gonna shush this, silence this. Like, what is it that you see? You know, and so learning and exploring their gifts and how they see, and, you know, a different kind of alternate consciousness of reality, to have an opening, to be able to so for my daughter, for example, knows no resistance to this or suppression to this kind of adaptation to life, because she's been prepped. It's just raised that way. It's not prepped for it. It's just open. Like, I've never, yeah, oh, what do you say? Like, you know, and talking to her from little, or the stuff she would channel at 2 or 3 years old, and I'd be like, excuse me, child. And the things, you know, she would know, right? And just knowing where that came from. My nephew and his auras, like seeing all these different auras and asking, okay, what's that person's color aura, and embracing these children openly with their gifts, having them to feel comfortable and open to, yeah, without feeling crazy or, different in that kind of sense, but whatever. So when I was like 2 or 3, because I want to say 2.5, 3, because by the time I went to kindergarten, because Juju was already, right, okay, so when I was in school, in daycare, I got anxious, I remember, and I was anxious. My dad was late, even though I had no concept of time. I felt it, and it was just because I was anxious because I needed to go home. I wanted to go home, right? And up until that point of blurting out with articulation, I remember thinking to myself, I need to get to the house. I need to get to the house. I need to get to the house. Where's my dad? And then my dad shows up to the daycare, right? And the daycare that I was at was literally from my childhood home, 2.5 blocks. Yeah, a sprint. I can get there in a minute. Depending, whatever. Less than 5-minute walk. We New Yorkers, right? From Brooklyn. We walk fast, okay? So when he picked me up, I was like, Dad, like, whatever language of voice I was using, I'm going to speak from my evolution now. We need to get to the house to Juju. We need to get to the house to Juju. We need to get to the house to Juju. But my dad, enthusiastic, because he had to poop. True story, okay? I was like, let's run. And he's like, yeah, let's run. So we ran. He, because he had to use the bathroom. And me, because I had to get to Juju. Interesting name, right? That was another fascination of mine as a kid, because for whatever reason, I don't recall that particular memory of the naming of Juju, but according to everyone in my family, I picked the name Juju. Because Juju, when I went into my cat or whatever the case may be, everyone's like, Juju, where you get that from? Janiver, they used to call me Jen Jen. Jen Jen, Juju. And I remember when people ask, where did I get that from? I'm like, and I still don't know. But I just think the name was funny because the spelling was Juju, Juju. Juju. Okay. Wait. Magic. There's some. Hold on. It's funny. Let me look up the meaning of Juju. What that means. Huh? Juju, an object that has been deliberately infused with magical power or the magical power itself. It also can refer to the belief system involving the use of Juju. A monkey said is probably the most common Juju in West Africa, right? Cat's name is Juju. I don't want to talk about the demise of her die, but we had to get to Juju. So we came into the house and I knew exactly where to go. And I ran upstairs and I went to the front of the TV and there she was, laying on the floor. And my dad was in the bathroom cooking. And I'm like, oh, Juju. That's not what Juju. I get emotional because I'm an emotional being, and we're transmuters. I'm a transmuter, right? I don't suppress anything. I don't oppress anything. I'm not in pain. I'm way past this. Like, I'm not. I'm sharing a story that has emotion, and so that's what I am, an expressionist. That's law, okay? So, you know, understand that, understand that. It's just an emotional topic. I was very emotional. And he was like, hold on. Like, I remember he, like, this. So, anyways, intuition. Strong, since I could remember. And during these times, I'm very glad that my mom, at work, was alive because she was the only experience that was soothing to one of the most disturbing occurrences that would occur for me many nights. And my evolved appreciation for them, for her, handling it in the way that she did. I don't know why. As opposed to taking me to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? So up until about I don't know, my age. It was before she died. Um, I used to get these episodes. And they only happened at night. These particular episodes. I'm understanding that better right now too. And again, I don't know how true this was, except for how I can travel and see the memory, recollect and understand and stuff like that. But when I was taken on the journey as an adult to that same kind of experience, and the only reason why it was happening in this way, not because it's been taken away or anything, it was to explain, right? And I used to get these fevers. If I had a fever, I don't know, but I felt hot. It was a fever, felt like I was burning up. Okay. And a wave of noise I was struck with. That all I wanted to do was make it stop. Okay? Too much. No. All I wanted to do was make it stop. So I am dramatic. So I used to toss and turn on the bed, scream and cry, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. I have no idea why they didn't take me. Because this wasn't just a one-time event. This was years. And the shift happened for me with the experience one day. Again, I didn't understand it then the way that I see it now. But it was so helpful that it simmered down the effect of that experience for me when I became conscious of this one thing. And how I became conscious of it was through a question that was asked to me by my dad during one of the episodes. Because he must have been frustrated. He wasn't in the room, and he must have been tired of me screaming and crying and make it stop. That he yelled from the room next to us, "Make what stop?" And I stopped for that moment. And when I stopped for that moment, everything stopped for that moment. And the filter became clear for me at that age. Before 9. My mom was here. So that's how I can always play with the timelines too. Before Jeannie, after Jeannie. My mom. Right? So in that pause, I identified to me what I wanted to make stop. And I said, the radios! They're all on at the same time! And then I started to right? Because then everything turned back on. Right? Now, children are children, you know, think about the leveling of consciousness that you are on now at whatever age you are now on. It's only, and if you're on this continuing journey of evolution, it's only continue like to expand. This is where you can really get where, you know, even though we are souls having a human experience in this lifetime of an experience, even if someone's an older soul or like whatever the case may be, and things like that, and you're older than somebody, and when somebody older than you says, well, you know, I never appreciated that, you know, like, oh, when people think that they, because of when they say something, they're like, well, I've been around, or they, from their experience, they try to tell you from their experience, how is it going to be, because that's their experience. Like the whole like double-edged sword with that kind of effect is that you're projecting onto me from your experience how you think something's going to play out doesn't necessarily mean it applies to my experience here. But there is a wisdom in certain kind of things and understanding, because I have, like, you know, I used to do a lot of like volunteering and internships and things like that or whatever, and I've done quite a few humanitarian kind of stuff, and one of them was like, you know, senior citizen help and all this kind of stuff, and health and wealth, and so I've spent time with seniors as well and stuff like that, and because I find it fascinating. I am certified volunteer hospice as well for the city of New York, and so there's just been a lot of different avenues I've explored in my evolutionary development to say certain things. And, you know, and part of that is, you know, people say be open to experience something. You don't know how you feel about it. And then I can come from this experience and say, I do know what I like and what I don't like and whatever. And I know that it's just not for me. Kind of stance, and still being open to new kind of ways of experiences that could be like, you know, a learning experience in itself. What was the whole point of that? Right? What was I talking about? Right. So anyways, so what I now realize from this evolutionary perspective, that was so helpful to me at that time, because after that experience from that day, I want to say that's when the overwhelming of that experience simmered down. Because later, in my own state of reflections and things like that, I was amazed at that moment of stop. It stopped. I made it stop. How? how did that happen? What's going on here? So there's been a lot of developing my own understanding to the energies of natural order that has been for me in my life, right? So the night my mother passed away, that's another, like, these are just, there's been so much. I'm just trying to highlight certain kind of things so you can see the dynamics. And, not that I'm going to say, oh, I could prove, well, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. That has been also kind of like my defense mode and stuff like that, because I've met with so much resistance growing up, like even, when I would share, again, I was just very open, even from young, sharing in, my spiritual experiences, because I thought everybody else was having them too. I understand that better now, but as a kid, I was sharing it because I thought that, hey, maybe because there were a few friends that I did connect with that had some, not all, but like spiritual type of experience. And so I felt that the more I openly like said it, like, people would share more because they too had it. Like, let's not make this a shadow side of life kind of thing. But it was shunned. And religion played a huge thing in even my own upbringing and development, which I'm grateful for too, because I've learned a lot through religion and religion instructions and study and different denominations that I have been privileged to be a part of in my own explore. Like as strict as my family was growing up, my dad was very, very I was raised on martial arts and consciousness. My dad is big on evolving our minds and being like that Jedi kind of. His fascination came through like kung fu and martial arts and these disciplines. Like we were both Bruce Lee fanatics, and I was a martial artist fanatic. I did a lot. Oh, hold on. I remember when I was in junior high school. This was before like they had a limit on absences and all this kind of stuff, because when my mom passed away, I was in the 5th grade, and so she passed away in the winter in November, right? And I was out of school for like over a month because I just didn't want to face it. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to deal with it. And I dealt with horribleness too from mean kids, like saying that my mother died this and she killed her baby and just a whole bunch of stuff, and my mother was a whore, and and all these kind of things. Going back to school, right? Because kids are mean. The deal that my dad had with me, because of his schooling experience, like my dad prides on hardly ever going to school and only going to school because he was skipped too and stuff like that, and being allowed to just come in to take important tests and nail them and leave and stuff. So he would have like hundreds of absences with like impeccable grades, right? And so he said, as long as I pass, he don't care about how many times I'm absent, just as long as I am responsible and I do my work. So I remember in junior high school, this was before I became like straight A's, like top 10 and all this kind of stuff. Junior high school was, I was borderline, like I did enough to pass. So that was satisfying. So it wasn't, I think did I make it to the honor roll in junior high school? No, I don't think so. Honor roll and like like all that came high school, college, right? Like when I did really, really well grade wise, like, you know, but in junior high school, 6th to 8th grade, so for me, I was 10 to 13 years old. So 10, I want to say 13, is when I started high school. I was 13 or 14. One of the younger ones, because my birthday's in December. So I turn, when that school year starts, the age that I'm supposed to be in that grade, you know, whatever. So it was kind of like, people would be like, are you, or was I skipped, or things like that. It's just because my birthday's in December. That's what I say. Like, so and a lot of the kids too were born, they weren't born the same year as me, they were born the year before, like, you know what I mean? So like, I was always like one of the youngest, like, whatever. And, what's the thing? Right, so like, I used to, like, junior high school, I used to have, hooky parties. And you would think that I would have parties and be all like, I had those too, the bad ones, like, you know, where there was alcohol and, you know, drugs or whatever the case may be, like, you know, it was more high school. Right? But for junior high school, these cut things, I would have other kids come to my house so we can explore the scary stuff or the things that would happen in my home, especially in the basement, and do the Ouija board and conjure, like, you know, and that was my kind of like experience with other kids and like people being scared of my grandma's house, my childhood house growing up. And having their own kind of trippy experiences, adults, children, everyone, anyone that ever came to like my grandmother's, I call it my grandmother's because it's my grandmother's place still now, but it was a 2-family home, and you know, me, my father, my mother, and my sister were upstairs, and my grandparents were still down, they were downstairs, and my aunts and uncles still lived at home because, mind you, my parents had me young. So my uncle was only a year older than my dad, so he still lived at home and was going to school. And my aunt was the youngest of those siblings, and she was like in high school, college, like, you know. So when I was born, I think she was like 15, 16. So she's still, you know, a teenager. So that was that household. And like a reunion of some sort of souls congregating in a very spooky atmosphere, right? Ooh. So, yeah, so he, I was allowed this, but clearly my grandparents weren't allowed to know this information. And so I had, from 6th to 8th grade, so many absences. So many. Because I didn't want to go to school. Because there was a lot to deal with. And it's interesting too, because even with the raising of my daughter, like similarities in terms of energy, sensitivity, and being conscious and woke to that, and having to honor her and her experience and try to figure out what's the proper school system for her. We had a totally challenging ride throughout her academics till the college part, where she ended up graduating early, which was great because the public school system was not for her. We even had homeschooling for some time. Get my hair out of my own head right now. But whatever you must do to support your own evolution, even when it's not easy, you do. It's a learning experience. Homeschooling would have worked if I wasn't a teacher. Right? It's funny how, like, you know, I can teach other kids and I have done this and all this kind of stuff, but you know, part of the dynamics between my daughter and I is that we have a lot of polarities in our birth charts, both Vedic and Western. And so there's a lot of friction in our development of evolution too. So part of our combination, we both are understanding, she's growing in her understanding of this as well, is that part of our union is creating an alchemy that is a challenging experience, but supported with divine love, which doesn't make it any less challenging. It just makes it supported by love, honor, and respect. And this other kind of morality kind of stomping ground that is essential to healthy development in terms of how one navigates with the people that you are navigating with, right? So to rewind, so back to, so another highlight of major, I used to have a lot of like dreams too. So my dad was the one who had advised me, because I used to wake everybody up. That was what I was saying about, well, having to prove, like, you know, like, I feel like I could, like, my family would tell you if they would. It's not like, you know, but if you were to ask, was she always like this? Yeah. Was it always apparent? Yeah. When she woke up, yeah. And then, you know, we just start, you know, life goes on. And then is she now back to those childhood roots? Yeah. Are you surprised? I guess not. Guess not. Right? So, yeah. This really glows in the dark. Last night I was so excited. I was trying to take pictures of it, like under my blankets, and I was I'm gonna play around with trying to grab it in the pitch black setting so you can see how it glows in the dark, because these are so freaking cute. It's a psychic, and it glows green, that bright luminous green. I just, every time I put the phone or something near it to take a picture, it took away the green because it was light. It's like, stop, just stay right there. And it's hard to do it while you're holding it and holding it. Like, it was whatever. I was trying. I'll figure it out. I'm gonna go. It was just before bed anyways. I wasn't trying to do like a whole photo shoot. It was just, I hadn't noticed it. I was like, I left it on because I wanted to see it in the dark once I was ready for bed. And I don't sleep with these things, but I just wanted to see. Okay. So another experience that I had shared, even in school, when after I came back after my mother passed away, because I've always, even though I had challenging experiences with my peers, right, and always with a small circle of one close friend, and then everybody else was just acquaintances and just like, you know, challenges, right? I've always done well with elders, right? So like teachers, counselors, things like that would gravitate. So I was, you know, always fortunate that even though through what I felt like a neglectful, traumatizing childhood experience, there were these outside angels that would come in and make what seemed to be like so not right again, to keep me in healing alignment. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then because again, a lot of my too, I realized my overly attached, that it was very like codependent. You know, you're like, oh, you were just a child. Of course, every child needs their mother and stuff like that. Before my mother passed away, I understand it better now. I always felt her time with me was not enough, and that it was like there was a sense of urgency with my mother. So like I had an overwhelming attachment to her. So like, let's say anytime her and my father went out, I was hysterical. I was not consolable. Like I would cry, and they're like, why are you crying? Because I always thought something was going to happen to her. right? And so I would have these unfounded fears, intuition, right? And was obsessed with my mother. And she was a great mother to me and my sister for the time that she was here. A loving one. Even though we were still experiencing trauma by that time, even when she was alive, because of her and my dad's relationship. And like literally, like cops used to come to my house like every single day, like domestic abuse and fighting and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, right. Everything's dealt with the power of the fist, the hands, the bell, this, that. You know what I'm saying? So, and some people could become bullies too in that kind of way. They cannot punch you, but they can know where to touch you. Pressure points. My dad was notorious for those. People like, I didn't hit you. Meanwhile, you're like gushing and like the most devastating like, pain, like ever. You know, you release that shit. Right? So, people grow, people change, but it starts with you. Right? So, when my mom passed away, she didn't have custody of my sister and I. My parents were separated, although they were co-parenting in some kind of way, but she didn't have custody of us because she was not stable. And until she proved stability to the courts, which that was the plan, up until then, my dad had temporary custody of us because he had a roof over his head, a job, and, you know, support his family, right? I was raised by my paternal side, immediate family, right? Blind spots. And these blind spots of memories that come up for releasing, right? It's not a reading, this is whatever, but still, like, you know, these things come up not to be relived, but to be released, to be understood, overstood, so that you can finally heal the crack, right? So that's what's happening, just sharing. So my mom was hospitalized anyways, and then she gave birth to a stillborn on Halloween, my half brother or brother, depending on who's telling the story, because according to my dad, they were still together. And that could have been his, so who knows? But she was married to someone else at that time for convenience. I'm saying that she didn't find love at the last minute in some kind of way, and she wasn't in a newlywed, and you know, but my mom was highly desirable by many men, and we'll share that story another time. And right, so she was in the hospital. So the night that she passed, I had a dream. I had a dream. It's a shame. Saying goodbye. Let it go. And she needed me to look after my sister. Blah, 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 blah. I woke up. My dad was awake. My whole family was awake. I must have been napping or attempting to go to sleep. I woke up from this dream. And my dad was trying to avoid me. And I didn't like that. I kept trying to get him to stop pacing and whatever. Tell me what's going on. Nothing, Jacko. Please go back to sleep. Nothing, Jacko. Please go back to sleep. So I got up with rage. I said, if it's about my mother, you must tell me. Because I already know. My dad fell on his knees. Yes, Dad. Apologize. And finding the words to tell me my mother. She was needed in heaven. Blah, 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 blah. I call those the dark years. Because those dark years, I want to say from 9 years old till 13, 14, when I had a conscious shift of another shift of willpower and making a choice to not be a product of my own environment, to do good for myself. But up until that shift, the first 2 years, I want to say, was black inside. Numb. A shell of my own existence. Even allowing for some of the voices that up until that point. So as a channeler and as a, I guess like a medium of some sort and stuff like that, like one of the other things that I would experience growing up was voices. But I was very conscious of these external voices and the differences between my multidimensional layering to know. So from early childhood, I was identifying what was mine and not mine. So there would be these certain voices that would, like this one particular one, that I would always fight with. Because they would tell me to kill myself. And I couldn't stand this voice. It was a male voice. Although internal, it's external. It wasn't from my energy. It was something else. You know, what that was and stuff like that, I have not dealt with that energy for years, a long time ago, that particular one, right? But during the blackout period of my existence, I did nothing to filter the channeling. I may have even listened to many of the voices and found an energy of relatability or sulking or something, right? So right? So, which prompted and also made my fascination with human psychology and just meeting with different energies of people throughout my life that, you know, I sought therapy too. And it took for the last therapist I had seen to tell me what the fudge am I seeing the therapist, even though they never tell you that. But this person and I ended up being really cool because, again, spiritual dynamic, human development, and all this kind of stuff. It ended up being a healing experience for that person. Having my experience. And it took a shifting of their perspective of just my journey to really have me listen. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, you know, to really start changing how I view myself too, you know. And so these are just some highlights. There were many different experiences with the senses, sight, the things that we would see, we can explore on, and things like that. And the development of this blog style kind of thing of getting to know me, and my own experience and where I come from, my evolution when I'm talking the way that I do from every other kind of video too, just so that you get to know me better, right? For this transformation. So it's very interesting because, you know, every generation has their own new waivers, right? I feel like these are generational things. Like every generation, like before us, had people riding that wave first, creating the opportunities for my new wave to come in and bring with us the elixirs that we bring that then pass the torches, right? It's not passing of the torches because you're still on your evolutionary journey. Like those, the ones from my previous generation that were already sowing the seeds and implementing the seeds into, you know, the realities of my experience to, you know, I think about that. Like, after after my mother had died, my protection, spiritual protection kicked in. I would wake up and run downstairs to my grandmother's kitchen and take out herbs that I was advised to in my dreams put together, and I would cut cloths from different clothes. I got in trouble for those things too. I would cut out little squares so it stitch it up, and know that I had to carry that with me, or you know, things like that. You know, there is a lot of things that I just naturally would do and get in trouble for. um, and I can't wait. And so, you know, but it's like paving the way for the new wave. Your evolution paves the way for the new wave. Mine too. You know, I see it too, like, you know, with some of my social medias, like, you know, people that watch my stuff, like, they'll be quiet from their side, like, even on their pages. And, you know, and here I am being free in my expressions. And that helps them. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing them sharing themselves more on their social media platforms, being free to express themselves. And then, you know, I'll receive, first from some don't say, but I know it's okay, that the energy of inspire, where it comes from. You know, and someone will be like, you know, you've helped me so much and you don't even know, you know. You know, so we all have our manna to eat and feed others with. And every evolution is important. And every evolution is not the same. Even like my YouTube journey. As a YouTuber, I'm not a conventional YouTuber. I'm okay with that. I don't do what I'm supposed to do to, YouTube to, just fine. But I still YouTube anyways, somebody wants to do it for me. But, we each have our part to play. And it's energy. Yeah, I had to come to terms with even receiving credit for my energy, which I see every day. See it in the youth, see it with, people that have been in my energy fields for a while, and I'm able to see their growth and development and evolution. Clients that I have that implement and use the things that we are guided and given during our time together, and to see their growth. It's a development, it's a process. To be received and rejected at the same time. That has been my journey. I am received by so many and rejected at the same time. That's not a perception. That was how it was. I'm not saying that from an emotional attachment point, nor will it be an infiltrating energy in my consciousness or my field at this moment in time. But that is what it is. Can't gaslight that anymore. We can't gaslight you anymore. Especially if you're here. For the manna of evolution that's here. Here invigorates you. Even more so on your journey. Whether you'd let me know or not. And I've come to terms with that truth, which also confirms for me like this whole competitive energy with so many bodies. You know what I mean? Thinking we want the same kind of things. I don't want what you want. So we can't be the same. We'll find reasons to downplay your energy, your existence, your evolution, your growth, your power, your empowerment, your influence. That's a mirror image of their reality, of how limited and lack-minded they are, that they create the energy is combative for some, depending on their elements and how they showcase their stuff. And so I find that that's so like, although I'm the age that I am and whatever, most times, and I'm not tooting my own horn or anything like that. Like, I look really young, and even in person, it's like, what? Like, and it is what it is. I'm not like, being conceited about it, but it is what it is, right? And so there's a lot of people that love me, right? And like from my age group, right? And then when they learn that I'm part of their age group, shit changes. Get casted out. Oh, Oh, I thought you were like 20, right? Because whatever. And then there'll be some from their 20s that love me, gravitate towards me, learn and do all that kind of stuff or whatever the case may be, and we cool. And then there's the other group of 20-year-olds or whatever that are in this kind of like industry or whatever this may be labeled as or whatever categorized as, that become threatened in some kind of way. And I'm not just talking about me specifically, I'm just talking about in general. Like, people become threatened by people, and that should be a red flag to check yourself. Why are you being triggered by people that make you question your positions? If they do, thank them for that leveling of awareness within yourself, that you're seeing that, something needs to be adjusted, something needs to be understood, something needs to be understood, something needs to be tended to, right? Baby, what are you doing? So, for those that are like connecting with hold on. Hi. So I'm wrapping this up. I will continue doing little vlog kind of stuff. This is my vlog intro that should have been done years ago in one video kind of thing. I'm sure that if I go back in time, I'm sure I tried to start sharing some of my stories and things like that, that they, I have over 1,000 videos. So, and I'm advised to leave them. There has been a lot of wanting to intervene with the publicity of shares that I have had. So it wasn't easy sharing and all this kind of stuff. So, so who am I? Enchantress, the Babbler, Jennifer, aka Jennifer, right? Or Jennifer, aka Enchantress, the Babbler, the witchy utopian. Witchy utopian. The cleverness of that is like wonderful. I've been called a witch my whole life. That was another mean thing that since elementary school, witch, because, whatever. And I used to take such offense to that, even though, granted, I may have studied witchcraft. I may have been drawn to the stuff because of what was going on with me, and I may have done like witchy kind of things, but the offensive tone that it was taken towards me in a negative setting never sat well with me. And it wasn't, and I don't like labels, and I don't think I'm anything except who I am. And that shit changes because I be moody as fuck. I'm going through my own transitions, transformations, and all this kind of stuff, and there's no limit to my expansion. So I am more than one thing. I'm a multi-dimensional being. But I've embraced too, like, I've been called, and then there's, different spiritualities, different belief systems, and I've come across many wonderful, beautiful souls throughout my journey that all have a name for me in some kind of way. I've been called, I've been called fairy, I've been called earth angel, I've been called channeler and medium, I've been called psychic, I've been called witch, I've been called a lot of things. I've been called a lot of things. But I'll agree with the utopian. And because I do a lot of herbalist kind of things, and I'm drawn to my natural affinity towards herbs and creations and stuff that I've been doing since young, and I make my teas and things like that. I guess I just witchy, I guess so. So it's like accepting the picture that has been conditioned into our environment that I was like, okay, I guess these things that I do are wishy, are magical. And utopian has always been my unicorn concept. Like I have this utopian idea of coexistence that I believe in. I believe we are all capable of getting the fuck along. We just have to work on our own shit. Even if we have differences, it doesn't have to be this problematic or challenging or competitive or every man for himself, an eye for an eye, kind of, you know. My life has been, you know, but in my now consciousness state of infinite, expansive being, I consciously activate with my lifestyle, mindset, emotional maturity, and evolution, and my soul's connectivity, my body, heart, and soul. I live exemplifying the energies through my energy management that I desire to see in this world. Is it perfect? I'm a smart ass. So what? Find my alchemy in being a smart ass and we cool. You know? Okay. What happened? So, that's all we can ever do in our lives is by taking the reins in our now moments in time and keep consciously moving from there. Being present, which is a gift. And honoring your own evolutionary being with truth, honesty, self-love, and care. And allowing yourself to be who you are everywhere, as you are. Even if it shifts, even if it changes, even if today you think one thing and tomorrow you think something else, and today you believe one thing and tomorrow you believe something else, so what? You are free to decide and choose for yourself what's it going to be. Olivia! Hold on. So that's what this whole entire channel is all about anyway. Helping and being a conduit of divine evolutionary healing and guidance for all whom will receive. And it will happen at different degrees. There's one thing that I've learned too, like even from like my blog, and like I was thinking the other day, I was like, before Google used to have this analytical thing that I was shocked by. I have a picture of it somewhere because I took screenshots because I couldn't believe where they showed how much traffic and attention you get on this thing. And I used to get the analytics every month. They removed it. They removed it. They don't have this anymore. And back in 2011, 2012, I had over 1 million profile things, like whatever. And then back in like 2000, I started my blog too back in like let's say 2008 or whatever the case may be. And it wasn't until like 2015, 16. Well, it went from, I was lucky if 1% read my blog to over 60,000 views and a following. But because I'm not good with that tech stuff, I learned that information by accident by having someone help me with the format of the blog, that they realized how much traffic I was receiving. They're like, do you know that you have over 60,000 like views, blog views? And I go, and mind you, I already had my blog for years, and I already had accepted whether I got traffic or not. I was still doing something I loved. I found resonance there. So I did what I was called to do, even if nobody was listening. So it's the same thing with my YouTube, right? Like, the human has accepted the role of being a messenger, a conduit. And so however that flows and however that goes and however that grows, I'm just doing my part. Everything else is secondary. And two, none of my business. So any kind of interference that comes into my energy field of my stance and this empowerment of knowing that gets projected onto me, right, by others who might view or want to view what I do or how I do in comparison to what they do and how they do what they do, and want to start taking it there, I can't help those people out there. Like, you know, stop comparing and contrasting and just do your own thing. Right now, I was going through accepting how I trigger some people that I like, and wish we can develop our friendships more, let's say, because we're on the same, like, kind of like similar evolutionary path. But because they're not yet there in the evolution of accepting where they are at, they're triggered by me. And so some handle that differently. For me, because I get a lot of obsessive energies with male and female, I have to block sometimes certain energies because it's an intense energetic obsession, male or female. And then because I'm so sensitive, I feel you, even if you don't say nothing. Even if you'll never admit to stuff. And then, you know, meeting other like spiritual kind of people that connect with you, but then are competitive with you or envious of you or something, you know, and I don't operate that way. So it's annoying, right, that in this state of evolution of consciousness, of understanding even for myself, I'm not going to take it personally. It still could be shitty, right? Like, in terms of, like, you're not going to dwell, you're not going to stay there, you're not going to be like, whatever. But it's just like, damn, I thought we could be friends. But you too, right? And so, you know, your evolution will trigger even the best of people. Because seeing you might trigger in them to see where they're not, or where they want to be, or another feeling from within that triggers their insecurities that they have yet to work through or understand or bring to the surface. You know what I mean? It's that shadow element of root work. I do that. I help a lot of people with root shadow work, getting to the bottom of their own bullshit. I've been dealing with that leveling of assistance since junior high school, with friends. Learning from early on that it was a double-edged sword to do these kind of things, especially in the language department. I help adjust your language, but you have to help yourself by applying these things. It's 50-50. I used to help so many people where it drained me. And it had to take the drain and the, like, me getting into my own reign again of truth, like, that even after that development of realizing certain things like that, I was just like, I only help people that want to help themselves. That's where I'm kind of still at. And it has been expansive with that mindset, because I'm not worried about who's going to contact me or how many clients, customers I'm going to get and all this kind of stuff. Because they come. Period. Especially if you're putting yourself out there in alignment to your truth. When I thought, this was years ago, this is too quick to be, that I didn't want to do 9 to 5 no more. When that cycle started for me, where it was a weaning out process, but it was a learning process. There was one time I went wild. I quit with no backup and thought my creations were going to sustain us. That didn't work. My crystal jewelry did not pay the rent. Right? I had to get a reality check, but because I was trying to be bold and manifest and believe and align and all this kind of stuff, and I was putting different seeds of creation for me, like, you know, it still wasn't alchemy. I was learning the alchemy of that kind of rhythm for myself. And so part of like that development was speaking. Like, I would never share my plan, still though, but like, what plan, right? But like, or, you know, that superstition, like, don't say what you want before getting there or sharing that with people, because you know, my little hoe, or like evil eye, or like, you know, shit gets fucked up and all this kind of stuff or whatever. Conditioning. Does it make it true? Sure, it can be, it can apply. Does it need to be law? It's not. Right? So it's really not. No, I guess this is gonna be a long one. But I was gonna say that lost track of what I was saying. If you want to stay in the loop, you're gonna have to watch another one too to see the stuff that I didn't get to say, or you can comment and be like, hey, you never finished that sentence that you were saying before you forgot what you're gonna say. This is the start of that kind of sentence or conversation. You can write that in the comments too, like, you know, you could do those kind of things too. That would be helpful, and I would always respond to you or whatever, stuff like that, if you were engaging in that kind of way, right? But yeah. There's just a lot of like right, so let's think about that. So like, you know, so at that time, I was to defy that conditioned logic. So I started to say things that were far-fetched from my reality that I knew would trigger a 50-50 response from others around me, but I had to become immune to that and still achieve what I said despite what I share and the energies that I would pick up around me. Like how when I used to say, I don't want to do 9 to 5. Like, I want to wake up on my bed, roll over, and cha-ching. Like, maybe one of people is like, yeah, like, what reality that's gonna happen? And like, what do you think? You're just gonna roll over on your bed and make money and not have to organize the bed? Like, you know, all these kind of realities that people will try to, like, you know, knock you down for because you're saying, or if you say that you're going to be famous and people are like, oh yeah, you and the rest of the world, you're gonna be famous, or you know, or I'm gonna be a famous Hollywood actress and yeah, you go do that. I want to be a singer. I'm gonna, you know, yeah, until it's done, right? And I was like, oh, right. So during this time of affirmations, manifestations, declarations, you know, these are the things I would say, like, I want to have multiple streams of income before I had multiple streams of income, right? And just the energy I would receive and the documenting of, like, the observation of just how people can try to stomp out your dreams, right? Nobody believes in you, but you gotta believe in yourself. That's the doozy, right? Right? It's you believing in you. Fuck what these people say, think, or energize your way. That's their limitations in every kind of way, right? So you would say, like, all these kind of things. So during this time when I quit everything and refusing, I'm not gonna go back to 9 to 5 because that's easy for me. That was my logic, and my family thought I was, when it just started to go down, even when I oh boy, the experiences, right? Because for my family too, because I've always been very ambitious and I've always been very, like, go-getter because of being, I didn't want to be another statistic as a single mother raising a child, like, you know, like, although I had her at 19, 20, older than 16, like my mom had me, it was a shock for everybody because, again, I was the last one. I didn't, well, all my friends were having sex and doing all this kind of stuff. I was always never. And I never had a boyfriend. And then I get one and, you know, like, you know, baby daddy kind of stupidity kind of thing. But I understand that deeper now. Like, if I would go back in time, I would never take that away. I would just end my relation with him once I got impregnated, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to deal with all the other kind of, like, you know, strain of stress or anything like that, like, beyond, like, whatever, dealing with him. I just get my seed and keep it moving. Like, she was supposed to be here, that's why. Okay, so, anyways, what did I say? Let's see. Get distracted. There's just so much, right? Right, so anyways, so now I'm taking the risk with no security to land safely. So, of course, I experienced struggle. And I think that during that time, even though I was getting readings, because this was after when I started to now slowly start charging for readings because people were coming because they were free. Yeah. Everybody wants a reading when it's free. Yeah, everybody comes to you. The moment you start putting a little price tag on it, like, you know, it starts getting sketchy, right? Like, right? So I started doing email readings. I wasn't comfortable yet doing phone or FaceTime or in person like that with strangers in my development. Like, because it's like one thing to do cards for the people that you know and people around you and stuff like that, and I would do it for people that I would just meet and stuff, like, throughout my whole entire life and just read, and I don't need to use cards to read. But when I started to share it with the world, that was a little anxiety, right? Because it was like, oh my God, what if? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So when I started to offer it free and stuff, I started doing readings for people, and I started doing readings for people all around the world. And that was a confidence boost for me, because to this day, 1,000% accuracy, period. Like, in the channelings of messages, like, and all this kind of stuff, which has been awesome in terms of validating myself as a tarot reader, because I always have this mindset. I'm conditioned in this mindset that without a degree or some kind of certificate or validation of some kind of academia of training or anything like that, then you have no place to offer your expertise. I know that's ignorance, and I know that that's not true. It's not fucking true at all. Experience is going to be the key root to your ability to be the experience of seed, of breed, of teacher, of conduit, of seed, of mentor, of coach, indeed, of any kind of field, you know what I mean? Depending on your leveling of involvement with it, you see, whether you got a degree or not, certificate or not, right? Going to school, I learned that I'm a Reiki master, hate name. Up until getting that validated by one of the professors and people that put me under their wing, I just always used to explain my ability to be able to touch people and just know where to go and help them. So my hands just know what to do, right? I just know what to do. Right? It took another Intuit doctor, though, and also Reiki master, teacher, and all this kind of stuff. I had class, my first day of class with this woman, who's a professor, and when she walked over to me, she said, I came from over there. She just came to me, and she grabbed my hand, and she's like, let me work with you. Allow me to help you to understand this. Like, how do you know? And up until that point, this is where education and learning certain kind of things and being taught certain kind of things are helpful, even when you're natural at certain kind of things. But she helped me release a lot of things that I kept, as opposed to transferring it out, and then certain things would occur, and I would describe to her the heating up of my hands or whatever, and just certain things that I could do, points that I could press that made sense because of my martial arts experience with pressure points and things like that, and my already knowledge of that, which was very helpful and things like that to understanding these kind of things. And I know that people, I hear it, they're like, oh, I'm getting Reiki certified and all this kind of stuff to learn passing of the hands and the placements and what you're doing and how you're filtering and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I can't say I have no training because I went to school for massage therapy, occupational therapy, and so I have extensive training in many different fields of bodywork and Western. And the school that I went to, what I loved about it and why I studied at the New York College of Health Professions is because they were just because I had checked out other massage therapy schools, but they were all just basic Western, like Swedish and basic deep tissue massage. So you were learning the Western mechanics of the body. That's not enough for me. I learned this when I studied psychology. I was mad in school, arguing with the textbook class, the theories, the studies, and the mindsets that were still being applied to modern day science. So excuse me, how does this still apply today? I understand it's the history, so psychology was ruined for me because I couldn't imagine going to school, studying this practice, and then meeting people, and then just seeing their symptoms, and then diagnosing them, basically, like, is deeper for me. So it was a no-go. Right? What I loved about the New York College of Health Professions was their Eastern approach to Western modern science. So although I went to school for massage therapy, occupational therapy, the school that I was in taught Eastern modalities and practice along with Western practice. And for me, this made absolute sense. Yes, yes, yes. Eastern, traditional Chinese medicine and practice. There's a whole bunch of different other kind of things, but the school is mostly set up on like TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, and things like that. So I found my learning zone of desire. I enjoyed that academic experience, learning the Eastern, Western practices of our bodies and things like that, and understanding it from a holistic perspective as opposed to just one-dimensional kind of functions. And it went really well with what I was about. And the atmosphere that I was in was a very heavy. I learned it during the school. Like at that point, I was ignorant to the spiritual warfare happening because it was laying and existing dormant for me, even though it existed. It was till I was in this atmosphere of other healer-like persons with different evolutions and practices, religions, and beliefs that my light became a target for black magic. And so they targeted and attacked spiritually my family. And it took someone who's heavily, call her my fairy godmama. That was divine intervention. She was new to my life. To shake me up as to what the fudge was going on right in front of my face, which then made sense. So that's another story in itself, about the audacities of some people. Right, so right, so right, so going back to rewind, back to that storyline of when I was my first attempt at ridding myself of a 9-to-5. That was unsuccessful, by the way. Failed. Hold on. Actually, to be continued. Thank you so much for tuning in at this moment in time. This is vlog number 1 about who am I and why am I here? Here. Oh. Stay tuned for vlog number 2 in regards to all of this coming into better sense for those that do connect with me on an evolutionary platform of awesomeness. Okay, so till next time, thank you so much. If there is anything that you want to ask me, please do. If you watched all the way up until this point on to the end, and whether you watched it from beginning to end one time or chopped it up into blocks and watched it in different times, you're so cute. Welcome. If you have any, if there's anything that I have not finished and you want more of that loop, well, let me know. Comments and stuff like that. Hit that thumbs up too, or not, you know. It's always a lot of views, right? and a lot of things, right? Like my stories on Instagram. Post a story, everybody in the mother sees. Post it on the post, and not everybody likes, but everybody looks. You know what I mean? So it's like that, you know. Whatever. Just believe. Whatever you deny someone, you deny yourself, and that has been very helpful to my depersonalizing. How people try to make me feel when we say the attraction is real, but so is the rejection for real. You know what I mean? And realizing someone's inability to be fair does not deny me. It denies them. And although the first waivers, like the ones that ride the wave, doing the right things, right, for the greater good of the whole, it's like a biting of the bullet, right? But it's also coming to terms with that too. It doesn't have to feel like biting of the bullet anymore once it's solidified and set in, right? It's just happening in this evolutionary scale. It's setting in. The truths are setting in to the unconditioning parts of yourself that remove the conditioning aspects of yourself that were not beneficial, helpful, or healthy to your lifestyle pattern or way of being, that have been uprooted and transmuted, transformed, and now you transition into unknown territories, gaining familiarity through your developing of acceptance and position as of right now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so thank you so much. Do what you want. Eat the fucking manna. There's plenty. Go back to my cosmic evolution days. As it is called, I totally forgot about that, and I was looking, and it's just interesting, right? Because I use quantum a lot, and I use cosmic, and I forgot about my cosmic timing. That was 4 years ago, where everything is called cosmic evolution, cosmic evolution, cosmic evolution, cosmic. So go check those out. They have a lot of helpful insights, tips, and ways to shift your realities via perception, mental, and just helpful activations and highlights for all those that receive. You know what I mean? So I'm going to just start where I left off. That's the story. I don't remember. It was the story that I was going to share right now. We'll figure it out. Okay. So know why you do what you do, when you do, how you do, when you do what you do. And in that, you do. Okay, so welcome, vlog number 1. Actually not, because if we go back, I might have vlogs. Anyway, okay, bye.